Hello, and welcome to Roseplay Presents Episode 40, Atama's Review Corner, Season 2, Episode 1, The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion. As always, I'm your host, Aurian MoonRose, and here on Roseplay Presents, we do things a little differently from the norm. Instead of having an entire season full of gaming with 3 special episodes, every episode's a special episode, and there is no season. So take your favorite TV show, and then it did so well that it could turn into a mini-movie, TV series, or even went straight to the big screen. And that's what we have here. Here we can do a little bit of anything from interviews with content creators and game developers, closed betas such as Gwent that we had, events like E3, which we are on/working on, movie reviews, podcasts, just a mixture of everything. So, today, as I stated, is Season 2, Episode 1, where it's the first outing for my avatar for when I was Atama. So this one does take place 5 years ago as well, and it seems like all of Season 2 is pretty much within the same time span. As you'll see when it opens, you'll see a title card again, like I did in the last episode, that said Season 2, Episode 0. I think that's all it honestly said. I could be wrong. No, wait, I think it did say Atama's Review Corner. We'll find out. But even though the title cards were bland and dull, at least they were there, and it was better than nothing. So, the armor you're about to see me in when we transfer over there is not quite an armor from the Elder Scrolls 4. I don't quite remember if they had any Elder Scrolls 4 avatar gear or not, but if they did, I didn't like it. So instead I used some Dragon Age armor. Now, albeit the armor still doesn't look that great, and it looks horrible on my avatar. But, hey, what are you gonna do? I wanted to still do my little dress-ups, and that's what I continue to do. So, by this point, too, the views were drastically down. Like, I wasn't barely getting any views anymore, and I don't know if that was because of the year off, I just stink that badly, or the saturation of YouTube had begun. Regardless of what the reason was, the views were quite a way down. I think I made it over 50. I didn't get 3 likes, though, so, I mean, at least 3 people liked it. Though, to be fair, I don't know if I was at the time liking my own stuff. I don't do that anymore, but there was a time when I did. Because, you know, like on VidMe, it does that anyway. So, let's go ahead and hand it off to Atama/me and get on the way with the review of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Hello, and welcome back once again, everyone. This is the brand new Atama's Review Corner, Season 2, Episode 1. As always, from now on, this review is made possible thanks to the Xbox 360 and its Avatar Connect Fun Labs app. I am your digital host, Atama Darkening, and today I will be reviewing the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion for the Xbox 360. Now let's go away to a land full of magic, monsters, and reviewers. The story of the game is that the player is the main character who has been imprisoned for, from what I could tell, unknown reasons in the land of Cyrodiil. The emperor of this land, Septim VII, followed by his 30 guards, is being chased by a group of assassins known as the Mythic Dawn. And the only safe escape just happens to be through a hidden passage which, of course, just happens to be in the main character's cell. However, when the Emperor arrives, he states you are the person in his dream, and entrusts the player to go on a journey to close the Oblivion gates that are opening all over Cyrodiil, and find the last unknown son to the bloodline. This is a sort of continuation to the Elder Scrolls series, but not a direct sequel, taking place many years later from the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, and further into the land of Tamarel, the continent in which all of the games in the series have taken place thus far. And like mentioned in my Fallout 3 review, is done by the same company, Bethesda Studios. The main character is a custom-created character, given no real backstory. and can be comprised of 1 to 10 different races of both female and male. These are the Ultimer, which is a race of high elves, Argonian, a reptilian human-like species, Bosmer, a wood elf, the Brenton, the human-type race, Dunmer, the dark elves, the Imperial, a more silver-tongued persuasive human, the Kajat, a feline humanoid species, the Nord, the giant-like humans, Orcs, which of course no description should be needed other than what you would expect an orc to look like, and the Red Guard, a darker-skinned human. And one of the great things about this game is the diversity of what the player can master in and wield once the character is finished. This can really give the player every choice to be a jack of any trade, or all trades, if the player really has the time, just by using what they like to use in and out of combat. If the person playing likes to wear light armor, they can wear that armor and watch as it improves. Does a thief sound good? Then sneak around continuously and do thief-like stuff, and watch the character become more like a thief, improving in all the areas of a true thief. However, once the player has left the hidden dungeon, the game gives them the freedom to really start anywhere they want, and explore everything that is possible, giving open-ending story that can choose when to do or not do something, or just explore around for hours at all the scenery. This game can not only pull the player into its main story, but also every side guild quest. There are 4 guilds within the world, each with their own unique story arc. They are the Fighters, Mage, Thieves, and Dark Brotherhood guilds, which can also extend the time spent in the gaming world, or you can choose to skip and head straight into the story. If the player, really wants to complete everything, however, that is possible within the game, then they may want to free up a lot of their time, enough to forget they have a life outside the game. And if the player really wants to do this, they may have to entirely kiss their social life goodbye. There are a few minor bugs, such as the one I ran across involving a mission to the Thieves Guild, where I had to go and set someone free, but when I got there, no matter what I tried to do, the guy just didn't care, and the side mission of the Thieves Guild was ruined, forcing me to start over. Though, the bugs are to be expected with all the graphics, wide landscape, and loading of everything. Still, the graphics are a delight and characters are wonderful to see interacting with one another. For its time, it is one of, if not the greatest in leading graphics for the Xbox 360. However, even though it is still pretty good and does now in today's games start to show its age with all the graphical improvements out there. So, with all the content within the game and all the options, it really makes up for any lack of problems with the bugs, unless stopping a quest and resulting in a restart, as I stated above. The graphics do come with a price, though, because of all the stuff within the world and the open environment being less like different levels or stages can lead to waiting for loading screen after loading screen, which may get annoying to some players, especially when needing to enter lots of places in a row. Or they could use the fast travel, an easy way to travel to a place already visited, which can be faster than walking or riding a horse, but still leads to some load times, which can cause the player to still get upset with the game. Now, with most updated Xbox 360s, you can download the game to the hard drive, which does speed up the loading process and lessen the load screen time. Sometimes the game will load objects a bit late, too. One time I was riding my horse, and all of a sudden a tree popped up, and I ran right smack dab into it. Ooh, poor horse. I do feel, however, that I have stayed long enough on the graphics, so on to the mechanics and combat. The combat is more improved than previous versions, giving a much-needed improvement over past experiences, but still lacks the perfection that it could have. As well as when fighting in third person, it feels weird and uncomfortable, and barely playable, making third person better for checking your character out than anything, if even that. Third person view is pretty much unplayable, and feels like a joke in my opinion. and if the gamer dislikes first-person mode, then it may be a little hard to get into. If nothing else, the gamer may want to give it a rental to see if it is worth a buy, or if it is even worth the first person. However, if any players are a fan of action or RPGs, then I do recommend giving it a shot. Also, with the soon-to-be release of The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, the combat and flow have seemed to be done much better. The hotkeys, which are an easy way for players to access their magic and weapons quicker, will take a little time to get used to on the Xbox 360 controller, and it may be a bit annoying at first until this is down, pat, and understood. In the fourth outing in the Elder Scrolls series, the easy-to-figure-out directions that are now done with the maps and quest logs to help the player find their next destination, along with the auto-travel function, which is life-saving and helps to make the game less frustrating than the previous installments, and more enjoyable overall, as well as easy to get into. Even though the menus can be easy to use once learned, a downside is if the player has happened to find a copy of the game that comes bundled along with BioShock, the player may want to stay clear of this and buy it alone, as the game's instruction manual given within the bundle gives no real, if any, instructions in the instruction booklet to play the game, and may scare away newcomers to the series. The music fits perfectly with the theme the game centers around. All of the sounds within the game, including music, will allow the player to not want to mute it. And Bethesda took its time when deciding what sound should go into what, and very seldom does it sound like it couldn't or isn't the sound that an object should make. Voices in the game isn't too bad, having some A-class actors such as Patrick Stewart, Terrence Stamp, and Linda Carter, to name a few, and has enough to feel like you are in the game. However, it can begin to become stale when everyone starts sounding alike and the lips start to miss their sync with the voice actors every now and then. And also thanks to the lack of the actors in the game, for the more or less important people within the world repeats themselves. A nice tip to the players out there is to save before they exit the dungeon. That way, if the player becomes unsatisfied with the way the character has been built, all that needs to be done is to reload and try with better results, thanks to the experience of the time that they had with their character before deciding to start anew at the beginning of the dungeon where they had saved. Since the game allows the player to save anywhere, anytime, it is also wise to save often to help with less frustrating moments, though the game will autosave too in case they happen to save in a bad area and can't save themselves. Also, the last helpful tip is if the player wants an easy time going through the game, then the invisibility spell might be a way to put them in a sense of God mode, as most enemies will just simply ignore the main character and even brush them off, even when being bumped into. As well as one of the easiest ways to acquire money in the game is to break into anyone's house in town and wipe them clean, most likely in multiple takes, as the main character will become over the weight limit and need to lighten the load. However, like the invisibility spell, this can make the game just as easy, though. Still fun to know you wiped someone out of everything. That is if the player enjoys a bout of sadisticness. So, to summarize and add to some of the best features to this game are the complete personal freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want. The world and its population can be engaging and keep the player entertained, especially with watching them do their daily activities and converse with one another. And there are some nice DLC adventures and items that can be bought for Microsoft points or by getting the Game of the Year edition, or now even the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion 5th Year edition, which pretty much comes with every piece of DLC content the game has to offer. And a few bad things about this game are, there is no real reason to do side quests outside the main quest, except for wanting to just do them, as they never quite give the player the need to do so. Constant load screens, which seems like it can happen every 10 seconds or so, when the player just really wants to play, and the occasional mission that are ruined by bugs or glitches. Lastly, for those who like achievements or only play the game for achievements, They are all based off of just completing the main quest or the side quests in the guilds, which makes this an easy game in my opinion, if not long to acquire because of the length of play involved in such a game as Oblivion. The hardest achievement the player may run into is the Champion of Cyrodiil, if only for the reason as it involves beating the game, and that can take some time depending on how the player goes through the game. There are no online achievements, but it is strong enough to be on its own. Such a game with a massive world and tons to explore for its time, and the storytelling is nicely told. On a scale of how difficult it is to acquire all the achievements from 1 to 10, I would give this game a 4 for being not difficult but time-consuming, as needing to complete most everything within the game. So, in conclusion, if the gamer loves what RPGs have turned into over the past few years, then it is an unbelievably fun experience, and if they are not, then there is enough elements that may help them to enjoy the game. But watch out, as there can be sometimes the ability to enjoy the world a little too much in its environment and completely forget there is a story or side quests. Though I suppose it is never a bad thing for us gamers. The final score for the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion is a 9.6 out of 10. So, until next time, come back to Atama's Review Corner, Season 2, Episode 2, for a top 10 of my best games for the NES. And remember, keep gaming and reaching for those achievements in games and life.
So, that was a bit longer than what I had been doing, like about 9 minutes. Now, granted, it was a huge increase in numbers, like 13 minutes, maybe 14 minutes. But I think I steadily increased each time to what we have now, which is like 25, 30-minute episodes, just to explain one game. I kind of liked it somewhat back then when it was smaller. But I suppose if you guys enjoy the long ones, then that's all that matters. I also love that my opening was, hello, and I am your digital host, and I still did this even though the camera avatar was like, ah, felt like a bushwhacker. But, so, yeah, it seems like even though I somehow biffed it up on Bethesda the year before in Season 1, I somehow fixed my mistake and called it Bethesda in the Season 2 review for Elder Scrolls. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I guess I must have either got smarter or finally heard Bethesda actually mentioned. Before I must have been like, I don't know what Bethesda is. And ooh, also, yay, I'm a little happy. The very next episode of Adam's Review Corner that you will see is my top 10? I think it was top 10. Best NES games. Oh no, it was my top 10 worst. I did a top 10 worst too. But regardless, the top 10 worst is one of my all-time favorites for my episode, and I've got one other. But top 10 was my first forte in doing special episodes, which of course now we know I do 3 times / whenever for Roseplay Presents, so that'll be nice. So, come back next time when we will be continuing the E3 2017 press conferences. I don't quite remember what we're at, but I'm sure we'll all see in episode 41. So, be sure to come back, and I hope you're enjoying the E3 2017 review press conferences with both me and my co-host, Saul Wildfire. So until next time, remember, keep gaming, never give up, and after about a year of failing, you somehow get Bethesda right. Good job, me.